Hi, I'm Kate Richburg for Beaducation.com, and today I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful world of the Foredom flex shaft. I'm going to go over some of the little drill bits and stuff in a little bit, but first I want to talk to you about a few essentials with this tool. Now, first, when you get the tool, when it's delivered to your house and you're so excited about it, open up the box and get these two documents out and save them. Put them in a safe place. But before you even put them in that safe place, what are you going to do? You're going to read them. Now, I'm one for just jumping right in and seeing what I can do, but with this tool, since it is a power tool, and you don't want to hurt yourself with it, you do want to be really well versed in how it's used. So this is going to go into much more depth than I'm going to in this short product video. It tells you how to set up your tool. It tells you how to connect the flex shaft and all of the parts together. So really make sure that you go over this. And again, put it in a safe place so you don't lose it. Now, another thing before we go any further is 2 safety precautions that you must take when using this tool. Number 1, a pair of safety glasses. I know that they're not a big fashion statement, kids, but trust me, you want to protect those eyes because we don't want anything to hinder your future jewelry making. And a dust mask. When you're using a rotary tool, that rotary tool is kicking up dust into the air, and that's certainly something that you don't want to be breathing. So remember, dust mask and safety glasses. Okay. So let's get into the heart of the matter here real quickly, shall we? One of the parts that doesn't come with the tool is this hanger. This comes separately, okay? You know how it always says, and this part sold separately. Well, it is, and it's something that you need. You never want to just lay this flex shaft motor right on the table, because when this is on, that motor is vibrating, and that motor can just vibrate right off the table and onto the floor. So for safety's sake and to use the tool at its best advantage, it needs to be hanging, okay? Now, the name of this tool is a flex shaft or a flexible shaft. That's what this part of the tool is. So this flex shaft needs to be able to move freely when you're working with the piece, and you don't want it to be bent at a really tight right angle like this. You need to make sure that that flex shaft has a curve in it and that you have lots and lots of room to work with this flex shaft and the handle, okay? You also want to make sure that the table that this is clamped onto is super, super sturdy. Our studio table here would not probably be my table of choice if I were really working with this tool. I want to make sure that the table is nice and stable on the floor and that this hanger is clamped tightly onto the table so there's no movement and no danger of this piece actually falling off when you're using it. Because remember, this motor does vibrate and that's going to shake this a little bit, so it has to be clamped super sturdily. Now, the way that this Foredom is run is it's run with a foot pedal, kind of like a foot pedal for a sewing machine or like the gas pedal for your car. But just like when you started learning how to drive that car or stitch on that sewing machine, you needed to get some practice. And so I urge you to just start slowly with this guy, plug it in, get everything ready, and just turn the machine on, forward, put your foot, this pedal has to be on the ground, of course, hold the chuck in your hand, or the handpiece rather, in your hand, and just slowly depress the pedal so you can get used to how fast or slowly this moves. Then you'll be, I think, a lot more assured at the control that you have over this. Now, a couple of other things. You want to make sure that you're wearing loose, comfortable clothing, but not clothing that has, any crazy long sleeves or anything, because remember, this is rotating and you don't want that to catch in anything. You also, if you have long, luxurious locks, you want to tie that hair back because you certainly don't want that hair to get caught in the handpiece of this tool. Essentially what you need is a key that comes with your Foredom, and that key inserts right here into the chuck on the handpiece of the tool. And you just simply rotate it to open the chuck up. You put in your accessory of choice. You need to open it up wide enough to get that little mandrel in there. Insert this right in there and close it back up nice and tightly. Remember, you really want to tighten the chuck nice and tight with that key because we don't want any of these little mandrels flying out when you're using the tool. Now, a couple of more points before we actually start looking at these accessories. I'm right-handed, so I always hang the flex shaft on my right-hand side, and I use the flex shaft in the forward position. If you're left-handed, you may want to put the flex shaft on the left-hand side of your table, and sometimes using it in the reverse direction will also help you to use it a little bit better if you're left-handed. Also, that reverse action, if you're drilling and your drill gets stuck, you can just turn it into the reverse and gently depress that foot pedal, and you'll be able to back that drill out with hardly any effort at all. And remember, when you're working with the tool, don't force the tool or grind the tool against your work. Let the flex shaft do the work for you. That's what it's for. All right, let's go through some of the accessories that come in your Foredom kit. First and foremost, we have some mandrels here. Now, the mandrels are what you mount the different buffs and wheels onto. These are really important because if you don't have these mandrels, you're not going to be able to use all those other cool accessories. So make sure you hang on to these and don't let anything happen to them. It's really easy to use these guys. All you do, see there's a little screw there up top. You just unscrew that guy. It's a long screw here. There we go. Put on your buff or your wheel and connect it back together. I'm going to show you a little bit more about these with the individual buffs that they work with. Some accessories already come mounted on their own mandrels, like this one here. This one's called a VStone, and the stone here is a vitrified, self-sharpening aluminum oxide that is super hard, and what you use this for is to shape your metals. So if you need to shape a curve or just straighten out a nice straight line on the edge of your metal, this is a great tool to use. These guys are polishing wheels, and they do need to be mounted on a mandrel. It's pretty, whoops, let me get that back in here. It's pretty easy to do if you can hang on to the mandrel. All we do, like I showed you before, we're going to unscrew this bad boy right here. And I'm going to start by putting on the fine wheel. We actually want to get that little washer right back on. The wheel goes right through. And this screws on tightly. If you have a little tiny screwdriver, that's also really helpful to help you get that last twist in there. But these guys are great for polishing. The orange is fine, the gray is extra fine, and the kind of white or light gray one is super fine. So these are terrific for polishing up the surface of your metals to give them a nice high shine. Another accessory that comes with your kit are burrs. A burr can be a jeweler's best friend, but sometimes they can be daunting to use, but don't let that stop you. Essentially, these tools are great for texturing the surface of your metal. They're also good for drilling little indentations as well, and the shape that they drill is actually the shape that the head of the burr is. So if you want a nice little round indentation on your metal, go ahead and use this round burr. These do need to be lubricated before use, so go ahead and use some cut lube. Just go ahead and dip the burr in that cut lube and then go ahead and either texturize or drill with it. All right, this is a felt buff and some platinum white polishing compound. This felt buff, again, needs to be put into this mandrel, just like we did with those rubber discs earlier. When you use this felt disc, you also want to make sure that you have a dust mask on, because the way you use these guys is you have it on the end of your mandrel and you go ahead and turn your flex shaft on, and as the buff rotates, it picks up the polishing compound here, and you do not want to breathe any particles that may come up into the air while that's being done. This buff is great, this buff plus this compound. They're great for getting a nice high shine on all of your metals. These guys that you're looking at are the rubber bonded abrasive wheels. Again, they need to be mounted on your mandrel, and these are perfect for cleaning, smoothing, and polishing your metal. These are brushes. You have some natural bristle brushes over here and some brass brushes over here. Now your natural brushes are great to clean and prepare your metal surfaces. And sometimes I also use them to shine my metal if I don't want a super shiny surface. These brass brushes over here are great for texturing your pieces. They actually give a nice matte surface to the surface of your metal. And again, you don't want to push too hard with these guys. Remember to let the tool do the work for you. Okay kids, these are radial discs. Don't they look cool? Not only do they look cool, they are great for polishing your metal. Now the way that these guys are used is we actually stack them up. So I'm going to make a stack of 3 of these guys. 1 and 2, get on there. There we go. And 3. You want to make sure that the bristles are all going the same direction or else they won't work too effectively. And you just tighten the mandrel on. Now, when these guys are used, they are terrific, like I said, for polishing. But again, let me caution you, let the tool do the work. If you press too hard with these radial discs, you are going to mark the surface of your metal. But practice makes perfect. I think you're going to like working with these. These little beauties are ceramic purple bands. Aren't they pretty? I love purple. They are for sanding, so you don't have to get out that sandpaper. All you need to do is put one of these little bands on this mandrel right here, and you are set and ready to sand. They go from a coarse grit to a very fine grit. They're not marked, but you can tell if just by looking at them what the proper order for those guys are. These wheels have a funny name, but they do a great job. These are called the EXL unitized wheel. What these guys look like is one of those kitchen scrubby sponges, but they're much stiffer than that. These actually remove oxides and fire scale from the surface of your metal, as well as really cleaning it up. They come in a little bit of a finer grit and a little more of a coarse grit. And again, mount those on the mandrel.